Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video, we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the 2019 Buick Regal TourX. And before we get started, I just want to lay it out there that the Regal is based on the Opel Insignia, or the Vauxhall Insignia, depending on which country you live in. So I know people are going to comment that, so I just want to go ahead and get it on out there. But anyway, I also wanted to mention that I'm going to be bringing back car reviews as a regular, thing to expect on my channel. But by popular demand, I'm going to take it back to basics. We're going to do a lot of point of view style review content like I used to do back in the day, but with a new camera, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Please give me your feedback in the comment section below after watching this video. If there's anything in particular that you would like to see in future reviews talked about, shown, anything like that, just let me know. In this video, we're going to cover all the ins and outs. I'm going to start it up, show the engine, take it on a drive, show you all the features, get in the back, check out the trunk, and just talk about all the unique stuff that makes this different from a regular Regal Sportback. Also, I haven't done this in a while, but I've had a lot of requests for it. I'm going to give you a quick look at the exterior and the interior lights at night. Not a lot of people do it, and this thing has some really cool lights, so stay tuned for that. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop on in, start her up, and let her run. The TourX is offered in 3 different trim levels. You have the base, the preferred, and the Essence. This example is an Essence, starts around $35,000, and it's finished in Rioja Red Metallic. It's an optional color. I think it's $495 or so. Black leather interior. It's just a super sweet color combination. This red, it's like a dark wine color with a metallic flake. There's light gray accent stitching on the door panels and a combination of light gray and brown stitching on the seats. Very nice. I'll talk more about optional extras as we go through the video, but this one has about $5,700 worth of options, so if you loop that with the destination charge, total MSRP for what you see here is around $41,700. If you didn't notice earlier when I first opened the door, smart key entry is standard, not just with the Essence, but all trim levels. As long as you have the key fob in your pocket, you can utilize those little chrome buttons on all 4 door handles to lock and unlock the vehicle. Another standard feature, of course, is push-button ignition. So, again, as long as you have the key fob on you, all you have to do to start is put your foot on the brake and hit the dash-mounted button to go. A while back, I had the opportunity to review the new Regal GS Sportback. If you haven't had a chance to check out that video, I put the link in the description box below. Of course, being part of the Regal family, the TourX doesn't differ a whole lot from the Sportback. All the major differences are out back, and of course, I'll show you guys all of those a little bit later in the video. But I really, really like how this interior is laid out. The steering wheel, leather wrapped, accent cross stitching, super nice with big bolsters up at the top, and of course all of your typical multifunction controls. This steering wheel is also heated. The overall layout of the dashboard is very, very fluidic. That upper portion actually flows into the door panels, which again is super cool. There's subtle touches of bright work, gloss black trim, and at night, I'll show you guys this too, there's a lot of really cool LED accent lighting. But everything is super, super simple. Like, you got a ton of technology right here, dual zone climate control, the 8-inch infotainment system, but you don't have an overabundance of buttons. Like, you just have 5 right here. So awesome. I love simplicity. Even though you don't have the fancy reconfigurable portion, you do have a driver's information system in the middle with everything from oil life to tire pressure to your speed readout, audio, navigation, telephone, as well as personalizable settings. So it can pretty much do anything you need it to. Next, we'll go ahead and pop the hood and talk about the powertrain. That's kind of funny. I guess somebody didn't get the memo to change the little car display to the wagon version. This is a press car, so I don't know if it's possibly pre-production. If anybody can verify whether they changed this on any of the ones you could just go buy at the dealership, let me know in the comments below. All 4 windows are automatic down, but only the front 2 windows are automatic up as well. The front glass also features acoustic lamination. You can kind of see the 2 panes of glass right there. Plays a part in helping keep the interior quiet. In my review of the GS, I talked about how it was powered by a slick new 3.6 liter V6, but in the rest of the Regal lineup, you have a 2 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. It produces 250 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 295 pound-feet of torque between 3,000 and 4,000 RPM. The engine features aluminum construction, so cast aluminum for the block and heads. The turbocharger sits right in front here underneath that heat shield. Of course, there's double overhead camshafts, 4 valves per cylinder, continuous variable valve timing. Fuel is delivered via direct injection. Of course, we'll hit the road and talk about driving dynamics a little bit more later in the video, but it's a pretty nice setup. Very smooth, quiet, and good power for what it is. The other really nice thing is that the TourX, all across the board, comes standard with all-wheel drive, which really enhances its capability, not just with some light off-roading, but in the handling department as well. So let's head to the back and talk about it. What's pretty cool about this all-wheel drive system is that it uses a twin clutch design in the rear. So instead of relying on braking quite so much to help disperse torque to whichever wheel needs the most traction, there's actually an electronically controlled clutch pack at each wheel that precisely controls that torque delivery. The twin clutch system is also available in the Regal Sportback, as well as the Envision and the LaCrosse. I'll talk about the suspension behavior a little bit more when we're actually on the road, but the setup is pretty sweet. It's fully independent with McPherson struts in front and a multi-link rear, 5-link to be specific. It rides really, really good and actually is pretty agile. Here's a shot of the front suspension looking at the back from the driver's side wheel well. And another shot looking at the front side from the passenger side wheel well. With regards to fuel economy, the EPA rates the Regal TourX between 21 miles per gallon in the city and 29 miles per gallon on the highway. In regular everyday driving, you could probably average around 24 miles per gallon. Premium fuel is recommended from the factory. There's a capless fuel filler system and a total tank capacity of 16.3 gallons. An auto start stop system does come standard. When you come to a complete stop, as long as you have your foot on the brake, the system will shut the engine down momentarily, and then when you let your foot off the brake, it instantly reignites and you're on your way. It's really kind of a personal preference thing. Some people like these systems, some people don't, but one thing that I wish GM would start doing on a lot of their newer vehicles is to give people the option to switch it off if they want to. Right now, it's just default, so the only way to shut it off is basically drive the car in manual mode the whole time. The TourX comes standard with an 8-speed automatic transmission. The shifter is wrapped in leather. There's also a leather shift boot with some accent stitching. There's some gloss black and chrome trim up top, a chrome bezel, some faux wood across the center console. It looks nice. I'm sure I'm not the only one out there, though, that would love if something like this came in a manual transmission, which sadly I don't think is something that we'll ever see, or even possibly a GS version. That would be so cool, but probably too niche market. But anyway, the transmission does have a manual shifting mode. If you tap it over to the left, you can push it forward to upshift and pull it back to downshift. There's an electronic parking brake right there. You have parking sensors in addition to a rear view camera with guidance lines. There's also a whole host of driver assistance technologies that's optionally available. This car has all of them, such as adaptive cruise control and whatnot. I can't ever remember the lists of driver assistance technologies that are packed in cars nowadays, so let's head to the back real quick and check out what this example has. Here's the Monroney for this car. The driver assistance technologies are split up into two packages. You have the Driver Confidence 1 package, which is $1,725, and the Driver Confidence 2 package, which is $1,190. In the second one, you have the adaptive cruise control, follow distance indicator, collision alert, forward automatic braking, lane keep assist with departure warning, front pedestrian warning, which is actually a really cool feature with the pedestrian stuff, and I'll talk about that in just a second too. But with the first one, it's a ton of stuff. Blind spot alert, rear cross traffic alert, wireless charging for your cell phone, the LED headlamps, you can see here and screen cap it if you want. There's a ton of stuff available. The pedestrian safety stuff is pretty wild. So this and the Regal Sportback are the first Buicks to have this pyrotechnic hood safety system thing. So how it works is, along with monitoring its surroundings like a lot of cars do nowadays, it's looking for pedestrians between 16 and 30 miles an hour. So like if you're driving through a city center, if somebody runs out in front of you, unbeknownst to you, and there's no time to stop and the car detects, an imminent impact with said person, there are some sort of pyrotechnic charges or hinges or whatever right here to blow the back of the hood up about 4 inches. The front stays latched, this rises up, so if somebody hits the hood, they don't go so far, it kind of catches them, so to speak. I don't want to see it happen in person, but I really, really want to see how that thing works. Now let's flip on the headlamps, fog lamps, and the hazards. As someone who loves wagons, this thing looks so awesome. I love it. I love it so much. This rides a little bit higher than a normal Regal Sportback, so you do have extra ground clearance. Even though this isn't designed to go off-roading in the traditional sense of the word, if you decide to go the road less traveled, you at least have a lot more added capability over the standard car. Looking at the side profile, you'll notice that this car has 3.4 inches of additional overall length versus the Regal Sportback, which really helps round out those proportions. I also really, really like how that polished rail starts from the A pillar, goes across the B, the C, and the D pillars, and then terminates in the LED accented taillights. Really cool detail. The window trim's complemented by polished roof rails, which is a nice touch. The panoramic sunroof is an optional feature, and another nice thing is that these roof rails aren't just for show, they are functional. Buick offers a set of cross roof rails that you can load cargo and bags and stuff on top of. There's actually some holes on the side over there where you can see that they attach to, so if you wanted to get those, they're like a $315 option, I think, and then you get even more cargo flexibility. Let's talk about styling a bit more. Aside from the increased overall length and the added ride height, the TourX does have some unique styling touches as well that just give it a bit more of an aggressive appearance over a standard Regal Sportback. The first thing you'll notice up front is a more aggressive lower front fascia with a silver insert. There's fog lights, some chrome accents across the sides. You have these flat black plastic wheel arches with a little bump out at the top. They're not really over fenders. They don't stick out very far, but still cool looking nonetheless. I'm not normally a fan of flat black plastic, but I will say for this particular case, it is a lot more durable than a painted surface. And if you're going to be driving over gravel roads and all that kind of stuff, you're going to be kicking up a whole lot of junk, and it's nice to have the added protection. Coming down the left side, you can see the wheel arches are tied into the side skirts. There's a big indentation that spans across the doors, just to give the side profile a little bit of added definition. And around the back, we have twin chrome exhaust finishers. They're just decorative. As you saw with the suspension, the exhaust turns down right there. Coming over the back of the roof, we have an integrated spoiler built into the trunk lid. Again, the LED accented tail lamps, unique TourX badging, and of course the Buick Tri-Shield logo. I just can't get over how good this car looks. Everything just flows great, and I didn't notice this until now. You see that body line that almost comes out of that side turn signal? Goes through the handles all the way to the back? That's another neat detail. Up front, by far, the whole front end is set off by these optional full LED headlights. As you can see, the hazards are flashing right now, otherwise they would be daytime running lights. Wait until you see those things at night. They are a light spectacle. Got a gloss black waterfall grille with some subtle chrome details. I like that a lot. As far as wheels and tires, the TourX has 18-inch wheels and 235/50 Continental all-season tires. The wheels have a polished face, so machined outer lip, as well as some sections right there, and dark gray or metallic gray painted center sections. Stopping power is provided by 4-wheel disc brakes. As promised, let's go ahead and check out the lights at night. The headlights in particular are quite cool. They have this flashing pattern. I'm honestly not sure if it's supposed to have a particular function or just look cool, but it's quite awesome to see in person. Man, that's awesome. Taking a closer look at the LED headlamps at night, across the top you can see the accent strips running, coming to a point and then extending down. I have the low beams on at the moment. On the inside portions of the headlamps, you also have automatic cornering lights that activate with turning the wheel. So, as the name suggests, when you're turning through a corner, those lights illuminate. Right now I have the wheels turned left, and it really improves nighttime vision. The high beams are kind of a spectacle themselves. Watch in the middle right here when I turn them on. They'll start and then spread out. It's really neat. I love that. Gosh, that's just so cool. There's a bunch of decorative LED accents throughout the interior. You have this big blade that runs underneath the infotainment system and sweeps up the dash. You have a pair coming across the door panels right there. I mean, it's just subtle, just little things that just provides a really neat detail. In each of the door handles, you have small lights right there so you can see them easier at night. There is floorboard lighting that's probably hard to see. I think they only come on when the doors are open, but gives you a little idea. Of course, all of the main lighting is LED. All the rest of the buttons are LED, and everything's just a nice, cool white. It's very easy on the eyes. Last but not least, the rear of the car. You have partial LED tail lamps. Halogens make up the turn signals and reverse lamps. You also have LED license plate lights. We've talked enough about the exterior, let's dive back into the interior. I will say build quality is really good for this price point. $41,700 for this example is no small amount of change by anybody's measure, but I honestly thought it was going to be a little bit more expensive. You do get a lot of stuff. There's some harder plastic material here and there, like the center portions of the door panels, but everywhere where it truly matters the most, all the touch points, like the upper portion of the doors, the center section, and the armrests have some really nice soft touch material. There's tasteful touches of chrome brightwork here and there. There's some faux wood, your power windows, power mirrors, power locks up top, and in the bottom portion of the front panels, you have a big storage pocket, and at least in the driver's door, you have this little dial to adjust the lift height of the tailgate out back. The seats are super comfortable and supportive. There's good lumbar support, good side support without being too aggressive. The headrests are manually adjustable. At least in this example, we have 8-way powered front seats. with 4-way power lumbar, and the driver's seat also gets 2-person memory. Coming across the console and down into the floorboard, we have logoed floor mats, logoed aluminum entryway guards, and probably my favorite aspect of the interior is the dash. It's a driver-centric layout, meaning that the center stack is tilted towards the driver to kind of, I guess, mimic a cockpit feel. But the entire upper portion of the dashboard is finished in soft touch material with stitching, headlight controls off to the left, and the steering wheel is both tilting and telescoping. You also have 10 airbags protecting the interior, including knee airbags for the driver and passenger. Sitting in the passenger seat, you can see a little bit more of what I was talking about as far as the driver-centric layout. Just this section right here is tilted a little bit more towards the driver, but it's still easily accessible from this side without having to reach very far at all. Down in the console here, you have 2 cup holders, a 12-volt power outlet, and a small tray that you can maybe set some pins or something. Towards the back, there's another large compartment with a large single cup holder at the bottom. And in the center console, you have your available wireless phone charger at the front and a bunch of media ports at the back, 2 USB, an SD card, an auxiliary slot, and a decent amount of storage. There's good storage in the glove box too. It doesn't have a lockable lid, but it is damped, so when you open it, it's not going to just fly down and hit yourself in the shins. It's lined in felt. Not too bad. A 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system comes standard, but this example has the upgraded 8-inch system that includes navigation, along with a premium Bose audio system. Now, this is the latest generation of GM's infotainment system. It's super easy to use, has a capacitive screen. I don't think it's a glass screen, but it's very, very responsive to pretty much all of the gestures that you'd be used to with your smartphone. Again, all of your multifunction steering wheel controls. The right side houses a combination of audio controls and driver information system controls. The left side, cruise control, heated steering wheel, voice commands.
What would you like?
Up top, you have your microphone for the hands-free Bluetooth telephone system, controls to the moonroof, sunshade, OnStar, garage home link. There's an auto-dimming rear-view mirror, and weirdly enough, there's no sunglass storage. This is fixed. Seems like there would be a good place for one, maybe at some point. Down in the bottom of the console is an array of climate controls. Dual-zone climate control is standard. You have 3-stage heated seats on either side, fan speed, defrost, but for more detailed controls you have to hit the climate button here, which brings up a menu in the infotainment system. So different zones, fan speed, temperature, and all that good stuff. Here's another quick look at the console from the driver's perspective. The infotainment system is awesome. Like I said, it functions very much like a smartphone with a capacitive screen that doesn't take hardly any effort to use. You just touch, swipe, you don't have to push the screen or anything like that. You have technologies like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, audio, telephone, navigation, climate, settings. There's a built-in Wi-Fi hotspot. Again, as you can see, just scrolling, super, super fluid. Shortcut buttons down below there. See your navigation, telephone, you can pair it and do all that phone type stuff, and there's a bunch of media options. Bluetooth streaming, satellite radio. I haven't checked out the rear seat yet, so let's dive into it together. Right off, I can tell that the rear door panels have the same amount of padded material as the front doors do, which is nice. Good soft armrests. Accent stitching, storage pocket down below. The panoramic roof does so much with making the cabin feel even more airy than it already is. I'm pretty sure the entryway is a bit bigger than the Sportback, but I don't have one to compare it next to, so I'm trying to go off of memory. I think the roof line of the Sportback kind of starts to taper right here, so at the very minimum, you have a bit more headroom with trying to get in. I have the driver's seat set to a comfortable position for myself for reference. So let's climb on in. Easy ingress, lots of leg room. Let's see if I can do this decently holding the camera so far away with one hand. It's kind of heavy, but anyway, I'm 5'10", and with the normal seating position, I probably have a couple inches or so of headspace at its lowest point. Now, if you didn't have the panoramic moonroof, sunroof, whatever, you would actually have a little bit more headroom because you don't have the hardware and stuff to account for, because with the sunroof, the headliner rides just a little bit lower, but it's not that big of a deal. It's very accommodating back here. If you're around 6 foot tall, I think you'll still be fine. The person in the middle seat, or actually the TourX can seat up to 5 people, but if you sit in the middle, you actually get more headroom because you have the space with the sunroof. Depending on who's sitting back here, it might be a little bit tight to sit 3 full-size adults, but might not be too bad. I'm sitting in the middle position right now, obviously. There's a drivetrain hump in the middle right here that you have to straddle, but not too big of a deal. I still have plenty of leg room around this center console. As far as amenities back here, there are side curtain airbags for the outboard seats. There's Bluetooth microphones up in the headliner, so if somebody's on the phone, everybody can be heard equally. There's grab handles, coat hooks, as well as rear illumination. Adjustable headrests for the outboard seats. Not to mention some air vents in the back of the console to help keep everybody comfortable. In the very bottom, you have 2 USB ports for charging various devices. In addition to the door pockets, you also have a pair of seat back storage pockets. If you wanted to pull the sunshade up, which naturally is fully powered and automatic, it doesn't completely block out the light, it just filters it quite a bit, so you still get some natural light coming into the interior, but the interior is definitely going to stay cooler. Those are water droplets up top, in case anybody was wondering. There's no holes or anything like that. You can't talk about a wagon without talking about storage space, so the Regal TourX comes standard with a fully powered liftgate that can be operated via buttons on the liftgate itself or on the fob. This is one reason why I love wagons so much. You have a car. I love cars. Lots of people love cars. But you have a ridiculous amount of storage space back there. Behind the rear seat alone, it's 32.7 cubic feet worth. If you want to fold down the rear seat, which is a 40-20-40 split, meaning if you pull that little strap right there, the middle section of the seat will fold down. So if you wanted to stick long items through, like poles, skis, and the like, you can do that. But by these buttons right here, you can fold down the sections in a 60-40 split fashion just to make things easier. With all this space, all the way to the front seat, you have 73.5 cubic feet. Yeah, numbers are all cool and whatnot, but what do they actually mean? Well, the TourX has more total cargo carrying capacity than the Subaru Outback, the BMW 3 Series Sport Wagon, the Volvo V60 Cross Country, and the Audi A4 Allroad. I like that the rear windows roll down all the way instead of stopping at some point, so that's cool. Here's a look at the load floor from the driver's side rear window. Very open, and it's practically flat. Here's a look at the rear seat from the opposite side with just the center section folded. When it's up, you have access to a big armrest with 2 cup holders. If we look at the cargo area more closely, we can see the latch anchors on the backs of the rear seats. Up top, there's cargo hooks. On the left side, there's a 12-volt power outlet as well as some illumination. Towards the bottom, a big indentation for tucking some things over to the left. There's a small storage net to the right, and across the trunk floor, you have a pair of adjustable runners. These you can move back and forth to accommodate different size cargo and keep things secure. If we open up the bottom here, just tuck that out of the way for now. Typically, this is where a spare tire would reside, but there's not one in this case, just some tire sealant. This is where the Bose subwoofer lies. The button to close the hatch is up top. And towards the middle, there's actually a handful of Velcro straps to secure something, but it wasn't provided on this tester, so I'm assuming it's probably some sort of first aid or roadside assistance kit. But yeah, lots of cargo space, super practical. I love stuff like this. Alright guys, we are on the road in the Regal TourX, but before we dive into the gist of how this thing drives, I want to hear from you guys once again. I want to make sure that I'm doing the right stuff going forward as far as what people are interested in. That being said, if we're trying to stick to like legit old school Saab Kylo 4 video style, when I did driving clips back in the day, it was more or less just to get sound clips, maybe a few different angles of the interior or the exterior. There wasn't a whole lot of talking and whatnot. The whole review aspect kind of introduced that, and with the voiceovers, of course, that I did in the past that I'm trying to get away from. But anyway, so I think there is a place of doing some light discussion as far as how the vehicle drives, because that's, you know, we're talking about the car. But I'm not all about really like comparing every single vehicle in the segment. For one, I haven't had experience with every single vehicle in the segment. I just want to focus on the vehicle in the moment, talk about it, and you know, just keep everything focused, so to speak. But anyway, instead of me rambling on anymore, post your feedback in the comment section below. Again, I really appreciate it. All of this video is from the feedback that I've gotten from you guys. So again, I very much appreciate it. So without further ado, once again, let's go ahead and dive into how it drives. I've said it once and I'll say it again, I am a huge fan of wagons. And it hurts me that wagons just don't do as well in today's market as they used to. There's a handful of really cool options out there. Probably one of the most fun wagons as of late I've had the chance of driving was the Jaguar XFS Sport Brake. That was wicked. But as far as the attainable side, this car is great. You not only get a tremendous amount of cargo space out back, but you don't have to sacrifice on driving dynamics necessarily as you might with getting like the typical crossover nowadays. There seems to be all shapes and sizes for pretty much anybody out there, but wagons are just cool. I don't know, like this car obviously is bigger than a regular Regal Sportback. It's gonna weigh a little bit more, but in everyday driving, you're not gonna notice those differences. And I'm driving on one of the back roads that I like to cruise on every now and then when, you know, you just want to go out and drive on a nice day, and it's typically a fairly rough road, but this thing is doing great. The suspension is absorbing all of the awful pavement really well. There's not a ton of feedback from the steering, but it's sharp. It goes where I want it to quickly. Brakes are good. You know, power's pretty decent too. The wagons of today are very much unlike the wagons of yesterday. If memory serves me correct, the last legitimate wagon, or perhaps wagon, I'm having a hard time remembering, but I'm pretty sure the last wagon that Buick had in its lineup was the Roadmaster, and that stopped production in '96. I almost bought one of those one time. I had a Roadmaster sedan for quite a while, so I'm very familiar with how that car drives, and you could not drive that like I'm driving this now. No, sir. It wouldn't have ended up too well. Having the V8 under the hood was quite nice, but this thing is quite zippy. I'm really enjoying it. I'd say power is pretty good overall. More power is always great, but it's not always necessary, and 250 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque is perfectly adequate for this case. There is a little bit of lag when you really hammer on the throttle. If you remember, peak torque doesn't come on until about 3,000 RPM, so it's just something to be aware of. But again, in normal driving, it doesn't really matter. If you're driving spiritedly in the countryside, like I am, this is the only time you'd probably ever notice. I'm just grinning because this is a lot of fun. The ride quality is really good. There's no fancy adaptive dampers or anything like that on here. Just regular shock absorbers. I'm not even sure if they're monotube or twin tube. But they soak up the bumps really, really nice. The suspension is just taut enough to mitigate body roll, but not too tight that it's going to be uncomfortable. If I wasn't driving on this particular road, we would just be sailing down the road as smooth as can be. It's really, really awesome. Yeah, here's a sweet corner. This is one of my favorite ones. And the nice thing about this being all-wheel drive is that you have the confidence of that extra traction when you want it. Instead of it just being front-wheel drive and you could be fighting with torque steer or anything like that. It's just a good package. It's a good package. That's just the best way to describe this thing. In reviews, people always expect you to say something negative about something, like always try to find the negative to counteract the positive, but that's not really my style. I'm a positive person by nature, and but if I had to say anything negative about the Regal TourX is that they're probably just not going to sell as much as a typical crossover would, which is a shame. I think more people need to experience the awesomeness of the wagon. It's the best of everything. Practicality, decent performance, comfort, and good drivability. Now before we close the video out, let's go ahead and get some sound clips. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth look at the 2019 Buick Regal TourX. Don't forget to leave me your feedback in the comment section below. If you like this format, if you'd like to see more of this format going forward, I really appreciate the support. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like below. If you haven't subscribed already, consider doing so, because we have a lot more where that came from, not just with car reviews, but the various project cars I have as well. So I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.